Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're Masechtas Bava Metzia daf Yud Beis. We're going to begin on Yud Beis Amud Aleph, 4 lines from the top Gufa, getting back to what we said before. Ra'us and Rotzen Achar Metzia v'chulu. This is really based on our Mishnah. If you see someone that's running after an object, and we said it depended upon if it was an animal or let's say a Metzia, in which it is not going to be able to be sprinting like a deer. So in that situation, if we're dealing with a chutzner which is not mishtameres, so the din is that you have to be oimid al gabav. You have to be physically there. Omer Rabbi Yomi, Omer Rabbi Yochanan, v'hu sheratz acharehen u'megian. So it says that you're running after it and you're able to reach it. Bo Rabbi Yirmiyah, b'matana heich. So he said, how about when it comes to a gift? So maybe that's only when it comes to hefker, and therefore there's no one that's giving it to you. But by matana, maybe it's not as necessary. So kimuni Rabbi Abba bar Kahana afapi sharatz achrein be'ein megian. So again, as we said, it's not necessary, because similar to the story in yesterday's daf of Rabbi Gamliel, because he is a das acheres, so therefore it's not necessary to be there. Boy Rabba, zark arniki bepesach zeh. Let's say a person throws a wallet, and Rashi says v'efkiru l'chol hakaidim, and he threw it, and whoever wants it is it's hefker. So he threw it through one opening, v'yatzim b'pesach acher, and it went out another window. So it went through one window, and then through a house, and then through out the other window. Mahu. So do we say that in this case, the avir inside the house, which is not soifla nuach, it's not ever going to land because it went straight through, is it considered kimunach, like it physically landed in your house? So what does this have to do with anything? So let's see Rashi. The question is that the person, you threw it through someone's house. It was in my house for 3 seconds. It just went in and out through windows. So do we say it's kamunach dami? Therefore, everything in my house, it's like basic kamandamalia dami, as the Gemara in Shabbos says. It's like my house is full, and therefore it's kamunach dami, or maybe it's not, and therefore I'm not able to acquire it. So Rashi quotes the Gemara in Gittin that haisa omenis barosh hagag. If you're on the top of a roof, v'zark lo get, and you throw the get, once it reaches the airspace of the roof, that was the other way around. If he's on the top and she's down, once he throws it, it doesn't matter, because according to this, that person is koinit just through the avir. But that's in a situation where it technically is going to land. But over here, it didn't. So do we say, Avir Shein Sovla Nuach Kamunach Damir Na? So Amalei Rab Pablo Rabba, B'yarmel and some say it was Rav Adabar Maslo Rabba, B'yarmel some say it was Ravino Rabba, Lav Hainu Masnisen. It's the same thing. The Rois and Ratan Achar Metzia. You see someone running after an object. B'yarmel Rabbi Yirmi Yomer Rabbi Yochanan V'hu Sharatz Achreinu again. You actually have to be there. Now, uboy Rabbi Yirmi b'matana heich, how about my gift? The kibla minei, Rabbi Abba bar Kahana b'matana afapi sheratz achrein ve'ein megian. So what do we see? Says Rashi, Alma misgalgalin v'yotzin hein ve'ein sof lanuach. It's basically what's happening. It's rolling. It's not stopping. Nonetheless, the kanalei sadehu, your field is still kind of, even though it's still moving and moving. So normally misgalgal ka'amrit, shana misgalgal to kamunach dami. No, if it's actually physically touching the ground, then that's not a question, because it's on the ground, so that's kamunach dami. Here we're talking about throwing it from one side to the next. That is the boy lifshita. Let's say the next mission. Metzias benoi uvito hakatanim. When it comes to your little children that find the lost object, for that matter, metzias avdo v'shiv chaso hakanainim. If it has to do with your non-Jewish slaves, which gufay kani, that you own them because this is his nachaltem, Metzias ishto, your wife finds a lost object. Hari il shalo, you get them all. Now, when it comes to the wife, is Mishum Eva. There's an element of resentment because you do so much for her, and then she's going to keep something that she finds. So it makes sense that she should share it and give it to you. When it comes to your children, Rashi quotes the Gemara in Ksubas that Yalfin lo mikroi, it's from Sukkim to Katana, v'af naira kol shvach noreh le'aviha. It's also in the beginning of Kedushin, that all shvach goes to the father. Okay. However, Metzias b'noi b'ito gedolim, we're dealing with older kids, Metzias adam v'shivchas le'evrim, Jewish slaves that you own, in which you're not kind of the goof, they do work for you. Metzias ishtoi shegirsha. Let's say a woman that you're divorcing, you haven't yet given her the ksuba, so in that situation, you get to keep. They get to keep it for themselves. Says the Gemara. Why does the Metzias of a katan go to the father? So the reason is shemoitza maritza etzel aviv ve'enu ma'acher biyadai. So the answer is, this is also question 13 in TV 29, Madu Metzias benoha katan shalo, because as soon as a child finds it, they go directly to their father and give it to them. Therefore, says Rashi, Hilkach kishemagbia, when the child picks it up, aviv higbi aha, he picks it up for his father. So Lememra says the Gemara, if that's the case, and he doesn't hold it back. So Lememra the Savar Shmuel katan leisle zechia blanavshe midiraisa. Must be that when he picks it up, again, he's not being zoich for himself, but the second he picks it up, he's doing it for his father. Listen to the following case. So you hire a worker, and so the din is Yilakid Bano Acharov. His poor father is the worker, so his son is able to track after his father and to be able to take all the leket, all of the various sheaves and items that are allowed to be taken. Says Rashi, Mutaliv Noishal Poyel, Im Anihu, of course, they have to be poor. Lilkoit Achar Aviv es leket hanoisher. The son is allowed to take the leket. Im Kibul Hapoyel es asad lemesel shushavia, as the Gemara continues, lemesel shushavia lo yilaki beno acharav. Why? Because Asher, who says Rashi, is wealthy, because he's able to collect all of this stuff. V'harihu kibal habayis b'sad hazeh. He's like the owner of this field of some sorts, because he's getting a percentage, like a sharecropper, a tenant farmer. Okay. So you cannot do that. Rav Yossi Omer Benkach Yolaki Beno says it doesn't matter. If, let's say, the father is rich, true, doesn't matter. The son is still able to do this. If the son is poor, also his wife can also track, and that's okay. Yom Shmuel Halach Rav Yossi. Halach is actually like this. Now, this poor child. So ki kamalaka, nafshe kamalaka, he's gathering his own. And then maybe later on the father can take it from him, but that's up to them. However, Iliyamrit katan leisli is lenafshe, and he's picking up for his father. Ki kamalaka aviv kamalaka, and he's picking up for his father. Avu asherhu, he has the halachic status as an asher. Amai ishno v'no malakin acharav. So how could Rav Yossi allow a sharecropper to take his this for his rich father? So Shmuel Taima the Tana Didan Kaimer. So Shmuel is actually explaining the Tana, our Tana, Belay lo Svirle, but he doesn't hold like that. What is that? Belay lo Svirle the Metzias Katan Aviv. That when a child finds something, it goes to the father. So Rav Yosef Katan Isla Zachem Midaraisa. So you tell me, according to Rabbi Yossi, is that true that a katan does have Zachem Midaraisa? V'tanan Metzias Kershed v'katan, obviously focus on the word katan. Yesh mehem mishum gezel memnei gar chesholim. Now there's a din when it comes to stealing from them. Midaraisa, there's no din stealing, but midarabanan al dar chesholim, you can't just steal from these people because of dar chesholim. Rabbi Yossi Omer gezel gomer. No, it's actual mamish stealing. You cannot steal from a katan. That's not alt dar chesholim. That's mamish gezel. It means Not that it's really Gezel Gomer. It means Gezel Gomer Devreim Rabbanan. Okay, so it's the same thing really. But Nafgamina Loitzi Badayonim. The only difference is between these two statements is that says Rashi Lashmin dehechmir chachamim betekanasan ki Gezel Gomer Loitzi Badayonim. Kivandim Deraisa Leisa Zachia Nimsa Avid Gezel Saniyim. So let's first understand this case. The only difference is it Gezel Gomer that Dayanim can actually take it away from the person who stole it. So that's the question. But that's the dispute. But the kasha is we see even Rav Yossi holds that it's only midrabanan. However, midiraisa, a child does not have zechia. So if the child doesn't have zechia l'nafshe, so how could he also say that this child can collect the leket for his father? His father's an usher. Rather, we fall under the category of nemushais. Because the aniyim themselves give up hope on this. They say, okay, let his children go and gather it up. Says Rashi, he has a woman, his wife and kids. Everyone knows there's no way I'm getting this because the poil, he has all these poor kids. They're obviously going to be the ones that are going to get the leket. It falls under the category of nemushais. As the Mishnah in Peah says, when is it mutter? Which one interpretation over there is lakute basal lakute. There was one shift and then another shift. So at that point, there's no way anything is left. No one's going to assume there's going to be anything left. So therefore, it's completely gone. So people have lost any intention. They're completely miyayish on this field. The idea is just the person's like, okay, forget it. There's no way we're going to get it because it doesn't. There's no way because all of his kids are going to end up taking this. That the anim gofai maska detayu savar beret deheich malach le they'll get it. Gamur abad bar masla abaya v'chi motel adam l'harbitz ari betoch sadeh who kadei shira niyam v'yivruchu. Understand? You're going to put a big lion in the field. Okay, I'm not going to go to that field either because I'm going to get killed by a lion. So that doesn't work. That's nemushos. So if it's not allowed, they should allow them to be able to collect it, and this kid should not be collecting it. So he frames it a little bit differently as we continue to Yud Beis Amid Beis. Also, Sheinu Zayche Kazayche. He makes those who are not really Zayche as though they are Kilo Zayche. My timer. Aniyim Gufayu Nichalahu. It's good for the Niyim. Kehech Dechi Agru Ledidhu Nilkait Binaihu Basraihu. Says Rashi. Even though it normally doesn't work, here it does. Because the anim will say, listen, this guy, he's poor, so his kids are going to get it. But even though they're not supposed to get it, but who cares? Let them get it. Because I am going to end up eventually working in a different field, and my children will be able to get it. So I'm happy for this field to be taken care of for his family. Enjoy. And even though really his child should not be able to be zoichet, it doesn't matter. We'll consider ki'u like it all works, and therefore I don't have any issue with that. Question TA 28. Hasaychas a poil. So what's the case? Rav Yossi says Yilka banav achar. The children could do it. Madua. Shari, how is it allowed? Rav Yossi feel the cotton ein lo zechiyam in hatayra. Him came nimsa the oven goizol saniyim. So maskana karava is, and all he does, very simple answer. Also as she'enoi zoichet kazoichet. The anim gufayu nichalahu. This is what the anim are happy with this. They're happy with this arrangement, and therefore, for that reason, it will work in this case. So is TA 28. TA 28. Okay. All right. Uplegid Rav Chia Barabba. So this argues Rav Chia Barabba, the Rav Chia Barabba, Rabbi Yochanan, lo gadol mamish, lo katan mamish, el gadol v'samach al shulchan aviv zehu katan. Katan el samach al shulchan aviv zehu gadol, which is a beautiful pshat, which is the second answer to why the Metzias of a katan goes to the father. And the answer is, we're not talking about a katan. We're talking about maybe someone who's an adult. But because he's samach al shulchan aviv, since he relies and is dependent on his father for survival, he is considered like a katan. Therefore, it automatically goes to the father. However, if you have a child who is independent, so therefore that child will be able to keep it. So it's all based on being samach al shulchanai. So, but why? And the reason is because of Ava. Rashi brings down. For the same reason, when it comes to your wife, is the same thing when it comes to someone who is a child who's samech al shulchano. And the child is not age. It's again, are you dependent or independent? Which is such an unbelievable shot, because the Torah here is defining, are you a child or are you an adult? Are you independent? Are you independent? Which is kind of a scary thought. It's not based on age, and it makes so much sense. And it's a beautiful answer. Okay, weiter. Metzias adav shivchaso ivrim harihu shel atzman. They get to keep it because, again, you're not koina the avadim. It's not gufa kali. But the Gemara has a different problem with that. Why don't we say that this Evid Ivri is like a poil? Vasani Metzias poil atzmo. That when it comes to the Metzia of a poil, of a worker, it's la'atzmo, says Rashi, loihe avdo elo schir ba'alma. It's like working for you. Tanina de Metzias labal habayis, bizman shlapir shlo le'ezem alacha sacharo, the Eved zeh, kishikanu rabo l'stam malacha kanai. So it would make sense. Why do we say that the Eved gets to keep it? Shouldn't we end up saying the din is by an Eved Ivri that he's like a poil, and you just say, do some work for me. So therefore, part of work is picking up stuff. So why would the Eved Ivri be able to keep it? A din poil, you're not telling them a specific task to do. That may be different. But over here, you're just saying, yeah, do some random work for me, benefit me. So in that situation, you should be able to, it goes to the Baal Bayis. That's only when you're very specific. So when do we see that he can actually keep it? It's la'atzmai, that the poil keeps it. It's only when you were specific. So therefore, anything outside of that, he gets to keep. If you say just do work, so in that case, it does go to the Baal Bayis. So we should say the same thing by Eved Ivri. So we have a few answers. This is going to be question 14. But says Av Shechasai Hari Shalahen Madua in Dinim Kedin Poil. Amrav Chibarabo Im Rabbi Yochanan Hacha Be'Eved Noikiv Margolia Saskin. And we're talking about an Eved Ivri who his job is a professional. He has a very specific task which makes tremendous amount of money. Shein Rabbi writes Lashnaisel Malacha Cheres. It's comparable to Nacheshim Hayom other Hayom. I want you to do a specific task. And therefore Rashi says, it's not good that this guy should pick up any Metzias. The Metzia Ma'ula B'dameha. The reality is that typically, because his work is so priceless, or he makes so much for the owner, he would rather him just continue doing the job that he has expertise in and not pick up some random nickel off the street. However, Metzia Me'ula B'dameha Meschar Bitol Malachto Lo Shchicha. It's really not very common to find that he's going to find something which is more expensive. Hilchach, he is Surami. Let's say he does find something very expensive. V'ashkach Shalohu. We say that he actually will keep it only Mishal Marabo Schar Bituloi. He does have to pay the work, his master, the amount of bittul, because he was supposed to be doing this job of cutting these stones, these precious diamonds, which let's say is $200 an hour, right, of labor. he spent an hour, but he found a suitcase full of $1 million, so he can keep the $1 million. So rare find, and he'd have to give the $200 for the hour that he didn't work. Rabbi Omer, second answer, Metzia im malachto askinan. Maybe he just did it at the same time. He picked it up at the same time while he was working. Ever didn't take away from any of his anything. Says Rashi, shul bitel klum hilkach la'atzmi. He gets to keep it. Papa Omer kigan shescharu lakim etzias. Let's say his whole job was to gather up, find objects, right? You hire someone to have one of those big things, those funny earmuffs on your ears, on a beach to try to find a bunch of stuff with some metal detector. Dami, not exactly that, but here it's the akve agma bikavre, that you have a river overflooded with fish, and therefore that's what you wanted him to do. And then while he was there, says Rashi, shesafa nahar chutz ligdaisav, but safo hadogim sham, there's a bunch of fish there. Ukshiyavshu hamayim hayotzim, when the water dries up, nimsu sham dogim harbe, you find a whole bunch of fish. So therefore, in that situation, that was his task, and therefore, if he finds something, he's we can understand that what the din is different in that situation, because his job gufa was to find these fish. So let's look at how he writes this. Either we had the Nikev Margolios, or you can pick up the object with the malacha. Poil desanya the mitziaso l'bal habayis. When we said that the bal habayis gets to keep it, right? That's the key. That's the twist. Is again, his whole job was to find lost objects. So that's the time when the poil has to give the Metzias to the Baal Habayis, is because that's precisely what his job was. Okay. That's how you read that. Okay. Now, Hai Shivcha Hechidami. So we said a Shivcha, but what are we talking about? Cyrus, if she produced 2 hairs of maturity, my boy Gabe, what's she doing by you? She should be freed. Cyrus, if she hasn't, so if the father's still alive, it goes to the father. If her father's not alive, then she should have left you because the father died. This is one of the ways that she's freed, as we see in Kedushin. That a Alma Havriya, a Jewish woman who's a slave, she goes free when her father dies from the Rishus Adin, and it's laid out through a Kal V'Chomer. It's in depth. Rashi helps us out over here. Ma simanim shein moitzin Rishus Av. When it comes to a simon, she shows signs of physical maturity of the Shtei Cyrus. She doesn't leave the Rishus of her father, moitzin Rishus Adin, but she can still leave the Rishus of Adin with simanim. Misas Av shemoitzin Rishus Av. Obviously, if her father dies, she's no longer in the father's Rishus because the father's not alive. Shein Marish Levanav, which means that she's not. There's no Yerusha. She's not. Her brothers aren't Yerush. So Masha Zichsel Tayyur Babita. Also, what she gets, she keeps. And Adin shemoitzin Rishus Adin. So that's the Kavachimer from Simonim. Anyway, so how do we understand this case? So it says V'lav itoisaf reish lakish. Was this not presented by Reish Lakish in Kedushin? It's named a Mahai Nami Tavi Tiyafta. So even though maybe this was a Tiyafta over there, maybe this should be another Tiyafta against him. Well, Oilam di Isala. Really, her father is still alive. Umay Hari Hein Shulahen. What does it mean that it goes to her? Lafuki the Rabba. It means not to her master. Lafuki She'enu Shel Rabba. El Shalavi, it goes to the father. It doesn't mean that she keeps it, it means the father keeps it. Okay. It's just coming to exclude that the master doesn't keep it. Metzias Ishto. So he said, if she's divorced, so then at that point she keeps it. So Girshib Shita, of course she's divorced. Why would she have to give it to her ex-husband? We're talking about a suffix. Let's say Rashi says he threw her a get, so he wanted to divorce her. It was Safek Karv Lo, and Rosh Hashanah. So because of that, we don't know if they're divorced. The husband still has to pay her food. So that's the requirement. Now, why do we say normally that a woman does give it to her husband? The reason is we don't want any resentment. If you throw a get to your wife, and the only reason why you're not divorced 100% because we don't know how close you threw it to her, but it's pretty close. So clearly there's going to be Ava anyway. So the only reason why the Metzias Isha doesn't keep it herself is because of Ava. But over here there's Ava anyway. So therefore, certainly in that case, she will be able to keep it. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's see maybe another question. Adka.